this program this time is sponsored by the Indian Collective. They're advocates for Indian businesses and empowerment in Indian country. And so as we go today, we're like, this is our 10th week. This is our 10th week, believe that or not. And this is Native Wellness Power Hours, just our response to what's going on with the pandemic and what's going on. And as far as just keeping our ancestral wisdoms alive and giving that healing out there to the people and being trauma informed. And instead of looking at historical traumas, we take a look at our historical triumphs as well. And so that's why we put together the Native Wellness Power Hours. And it's awesome. We've been getting responses and going all over the country, Indian country, but also to Australia, to New Zealand, some places over in Germany. And we thank you. And just bring that healing out to people. And we've been finding out that not only Native people have been watching, but non-Native people have been watching, just learning about being educated and learning about healing. But not only that, but the issues that Native people are dealing with. And so another just a little thing I just wanted to toss out there before, as we get started here, and some of the weather. I just want to acknowledge people. So Tacoma, I'm in Tacoma, Washington, and it's 59 degrees here in Tacoma, Washington. Juneau, Alaska, where I come from, is 48 degrees in Juneau, Alaska. Down there in Phoenix, some of our people down there, and I'm taking a look, it's 91, and this week is supposed to get up to 112 degrees down there in Phoenix in Arizona. Oh my goodness. Anchorage, Alaska, 48 degrees up there. Rapid City, South Dakota, 63 degrees over there. Tahlequah, Oklahoma, 73. Albuquerque, 72 degrees over there. And Seminole, Florida, 88 degrees over there. So I just wanted to bring that out there to the people, and just so that we can reach out and touch and other people and what they're doing too, and their weather, and acknowledge them. So at this time, I got a brother on here, Dan. Dan's going to come on here and just start this week off in a good way with a song. And not only start this week off in a good way, but also start this day off in a good way, with that song. And our songs our music is medicine, and our music is prayers as well. And Dan, this week has been on mentors, role models, and leaders. And I see Dan as one of those, being a mentor and role model and leader in Indian country and the work that he's been doing. But not only that, standing on the front lines of the protest lines out and Standing Rock, and up there at Mauna Kea, and just getting out there and just being that advocate for the people. But hey, I'm going to turn it over to you, brother, and share a song with us in a few words.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can.
All right. Good morning, brother.
Oh.
Well, I'm really honored that my brother Gene has asked me today to share a song. So in my heart, I have this song I want to share, and beautiful memory of all of our loved ones, that have gone on, and all of those who've been affected, by loss recently as well. And just that we could come together in prayer and thought, to all the beautiful ancestors that we have, that are watching over us and looking over us during this time of uncertainty, a time that we come to collective in our power of prayer and thought, and for a better future. So we want to do something good for our children and our future generations. So here in the Spelum, we're working at the land project. We're busy making food and gathering medicines and learning plant medicines, and in the hopes that we'll have a camp here maybe in the fall if things work out by then. And what you are invited, my brother, and as well as many of you out there. So I just want to acknowledge Na'a Ilhahi Fund for supporting us in this. And of my cousin, if you guys want to come in and join me, I'm going to sing the song and inviting my cousin here, Janine, and her husband, White Feather, if they want to join with me And I'm going to sing the song, and the song is an honoring song. So just with that, I'm going to sing this best that I can.
Oh, oh. Hey, thank you, brother. Gonna cheese, gonna cheese. Thank you for your relatives who are there with you. Thank you for kicking us off to a in a good way. You know, while you're singing, I lit some sage too, just to send it out there to the people, and and all those people who you're reaching with your song, with your music, and with your spirit. So, any last things there, brother?
Just everybody enjoy the day and enjoy the memories that go through your mind today as you're remembering all the loved ones that have passed on. They're supporting us through the astral realm, and so don't forget them because they don't forget us.
Ah, thank you.
Thank
Gonna
you.
cheese. That's a good way to end. Just to leave it on that. And so, yeah, well, you're still here too. I just want to we're about to go on, and as we're doing this too, I had to reach for my eagle feather, and just because sometimes I just needed to. I get intimidated sometimes. Some people won't think so, but I just needed that strength and that love, and and I encourage others to use. These are our tools. These are our
Mhm.
ways. So if you get intimidated, you need a little help to reach out, grab that feather. Like Sister was saying, there, it's like our ancestors are with us. Oftentimes I was talking to another sister. She was talking that she lost faith in many things. But I was talking to her and said, hey, you know what? You may have lost faith. That's okay. But our ancestors have not lost faith in you.
Uh,
They've not lost faith in you. And so that's we've been dreamt into existence, and here we are, and so thank you, gonna teach,
oh,
and much blessings to your camp and to the work that you're doing. I look forward to being there.
you're a beautiful man, Gene Tagaban. Good to see you, brother.
Likewise, brother.
And to
All right.
all your guests today, there's some good leaders and role models, and we want to thank them too for everything that they're doing.
Thank
And
you, gonna teach.
Native Wellness Institute. Yay!
Until next time. Bye. So here we're coming on, and we're going to the next guest, who's Brandy Douglas. My eyes got really big right now because um, again, I have nobody on my screen and I can't hear anybody. And so, Brandy, I'm just going to ask you to just introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about who you are. And I'm going to try to figure out these my technical difficulties here, or challenges, I would say.
Thank
But
you, Gene.
we'll get it worked out. We'll get it worked out. So, Brandy, I'm turning it over to you just to introduce yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, my name is Brandy Douglas, and I am a member of the Puyallup Tribal Nation in Tacoma, Washington. My parents are Eugenia Buena Douglas and William Douglas. My grandparents are Verna Marie Bartlett and David Buena, as well as Bill Douglas and Nettie Cabell. I'm really excited to be on today and to chat with Gene when he's back on the screen. Can you hear me?
I think I'm back. Can you hear
Okay.
me? Okay, cool.
I was talking into the void.
I know. I was sometimes that happens. That's why I picked up my eagle feather, because I was going, okay, here we go. I need that strength. I need that
Yeah,
help here.
it worked.
And so I'm not sure what you shared so far, but Brandy, yeah, just share a little bit about yourself. Well, first of all, I wanted to get Brandy on here just as a young Native leader, and being a mentor and a role model herself, and being a voice for the people. I see everything. Every time I see you doing something online, you're doing something different. And even during this pandemic, this time of stay-at-home period, you've just been
Mm-hmm.
getting resources out there to the people, finding food for the people. And not only that, but you're opening up your own businesses as well during these
Yeah,
things. So instead of like sitting there being a victim, you're being an advocate. You're taking this opportunity to step forward and do some things. And so yeah, please share with us a little bit about who you are, and the work that you do.
yeah, definitely. Thank you. I just shared my named a little bit of my family, but as far as what I do, I'm kind of all over the place. It's just the kind of person I am. I need to have like 50 different projects going on, or else I'm doing nothing on the other end. So I co-own a business with my brother Miguel Douglas. It is called American Indian Republic. It's a digital media company, and it was born out of the need to, well, an attempt to reclaim our tribe's news organization, and they've proceeded on their own terms, and in a sense with creating their own news organization. But we started ours about 2 years ago. And we like to highlight the smaller stories in Indian country that you might not hear with some larger native news organizations, which isn't, I wouldn't say it's not a rare thing since we're not highlighted in the media a lot anyways, natives. But we want the smaller scale stories. So that's what we do with American Indian Republic. We also co-own Bella and Bell, a creative design firm. My brother is a web designer and an app developer, and I kind of jump in and help with the wording with any projects that we have. And then I have my own business, the Multifaceted Matriarch, which is a content creation and consulting business. So I help folks with the wording on their websites as well as on their social media. I am a board member with the Tacoma Women of Color Collective, which sprung up last year. The founder of that is Krista Perez. So I've been helping out with that over the last year. And then when this pandemic happened, as you had mentioned, Jean, I kind of sprung into action. I honestly, I feel like I didn't even think about it. I immediately went into like, I need to help now. And
Mm-hmm.
I kind of jumped into a couple different things at that time. But also, I realized that I also needed to kind of process what was happening, which came maybe like a month after this whole pandemic started. I had to slow down a little bit for myself to be able to keep up that kind of pace.
Right on. And thank you again. Thank you for all you're doing. You're also doing some. It's like this your own like Tacoma talks. Is that what it is?
Yes. So I just started a podcast with a friend of mine, Kim Reinhardt. It's called Tacoma We Need to Talk. So the focus of that podcast is discussing the POC or person of color intersection with the LGBT um, population here. And so, and it's just an area that is not really talked about. There's not a lot of resources for that particular population of people. And so we wanted to hop on that podcast and talk about different issues happening on national and local levels that have to do with who we are, which is, you know, queer POC people. And it definitely needs to be uplifted way more in this particular area. And so we're hoping that this will spark more dialogue and, you know, more emphasis on this community.
Right on. And the community being Indian country as well.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, we see just a lot of homophobia out there as well, and you know, and what I was taught to is that our two spirited brothers and sisters they were held up in a high place of reverence for who they were, as opposed to now, as colonization came in and you know and everything came in, it's seen as something bad, as opposed to
Definitely.
something like a medicine that people hold.
Yes. Yes, they were revered as sacred. And so I know that in the Puyallup tribe, we had our very first Pride last year. And we were super excited to get started with this year's. We're still talking about what we might have to do in terms of pivoting since we can't gather. But yeah, that started last year. I don't see it anytime soon. I'm sure it started a lot of different dialogue within our membership. But I hope that conversation keeps going.
Right on. So Brandy, I mean, so you're doing all these things, and so who influenced you? What was that driving force in you? You know, and my wife's a teacher, and she was one of your teachers, and she remembers you as being a quiet, very quiet, you know,
Yeah.
and didn't speak too much, you know, but she always saw that there was something there. There was, you know, she always said there's this little kid, and there's something about her, you know, and so what is that? Who influenced you, or what were those mentors or role models that you had in your life, and what was that? Who
Yeah.
was that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, hi, Ruby, if you're
Oh,
watching.
she just
Oh,
walked
she's
into the
in the.
room. She just
Okay.
walked in.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Ruby. I would say definitely my parents in terms of being of service. My mom's always been of service. My grandmother, Dr. Verna Marie Bartlett, she definitely helped the people in whatever capacity she could, even when she didn't really have anything. You know, I feel like I started leaning towards different groups of people who were doing the same kind of work because it's kind of hard to hang out with people who aren't doing that and be motivated to do that. So I had to start, as I got older, I had to start finding people that were doing that work so that I was in line with what I was meant to be doing. And now, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, you know, Brandy, you're such an advocate. And it's just kind of, I'm still getting used to that word because it's just what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of being quiet, I'm still a quieter person, and I've come to embrace my introversion, and I think it's powerful in a way because it allows me to observe a lot of situations instead of going right in and kind of making noise, so to speak. So I still value that about myself.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I had an uncle of mine who he told me, one of my teachers, one of my mentors, he taught me how dance and took me to the sweat lodge and everything. But he always told me, he was like, he says, "Now, Gene, when it's time to speak, you speak. You can do all this, but when it's time to speak, you get up there and you speak. You talk to the people.
Yes.
But mostly you talk to their hearts, and that's how you create influence. You talk to their spirit." So it's like one of those things. Yeah. I learned to. I can be out there and stuff, but when I'm home, I just same way. I like to be quiet, hang out with the dogs, hang out with Ruby, and and just do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Yeah, when it's time to speak, you have to. And I think that really goes into, this podcast endeavor, and um just kind of sharing information with my circles, the people that aren't native, or they're not queer. It's that you have to be vocal about all of these things, within these different groups, or else they're not going to learn what they need to learn to kind of move forward with, all of us collectively as a group.
oh, exactly. Yeah, and this like this new norm too that everyone keeps talking about,
Hmm.
whatever that is, this new norm, and what do you see? How do you see that possible, that new norm out there? I know people have been asking me the same thing, and I just kept saying, like you said, that collective. It's just not about one person. It's about all of us working together. As Native people, as white, white, black, Asian, but just like just come together and understanding and and doing this whole thing. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of think it's an opportunity, but also it'll be more of an opportunity when we aren't. I feel like a lot of folks are just trying to survive right now. Even the folks that were trying to just survive before this pandemic, and then you add the pandemic, and it's kind of like you want them to be able to focus on these more accessible, programs such as this, things that are available in terms of like workshops and whatnot. You would think that people would have time now to do those things, but a lot of people are just trying to survive. So I hope when we pivot and folks can go back to work and they have the things that they need, that they will see the value in these things that are available to learn, and take those opportunities. But I'm not sure how that is now, since we're all kind of just trying to stay afloat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my hands go up to your mom and your grandmother, those who influenced you and such, and I know because my teachers, they saw something in me
Mm.
and they just took me. They just like basically said, "Oh, here, you need to do this," and I was like, out of respect. Basically, it's out
Yeah.
of respect, out of reverence for them. I mean, I said, "Okay, I'll go along with you," and here I am because I'd rather have just been hanging out in the mountains, fishing and doing those things as
Yeah.
well, and so along with those lines too, you're a huge advocate for uh, wellness, not but just physically active
Yeah.
and uh, our nutrition and the whole balance of everything as well, eh?
Yeah. Yeah. I did. So I was a wellness coach for a while, a couple years ago, and a personal trainer. And so I was really like heavily invested in that. I'm finding that honestly, it's kind of a challenge right now to maintain any kind of routine, in terms of like physical wellness. But just trying to make sure that I am, eating things that make me feel well. And I know a lot of us aren't doing a lot in terms of like going places, but our minds are still working overdrive and we're still stressed. And so just being mindful of that at this time, is really important.
Right on. Hey, so Brandy, I have I have a question. So as we go on, and I know I'm getting to that point. I remember when I was younger, and my hair was black, and I didn't have so many wrinkles, and and now I even go to places and uh, I'll be in circles, and they'll go, "Hey, Gene," or no, they'll actually start it off like, "Hey, okay, we're gonna start this off circle off in a good way. So we'll get a prayer or song from our elder." And I'm looking around and go, "Oh, that's a good way to do things," and then that's going on in my mind. And then they go, "Hey, Gene, would you like to say our prayer for us?" I'm like, "Oh, now when the heck did that come up here?" It's like, it's like now I'm the elder. I remember I used to be the youngest one in the group,
Yeah.
and time does go by really fast. And as I age, my dad is in his 80s,
Mm-hmm.
and I've already surpassed the age of many men on many of the reservations or in the villages. I've
Mm-hmm.
surpassed that expected age range, and so I'm starting to take a look at my legacy. What is it I want to do? What is it I want to leave behind?
Mm-hmm.
And what's that mark? And as I work for our people and the generations, and so for you, I mean, if you were going to take a look at that, what kind of elder would you want to be, and what kind of legacy would you want to leave? Because I'm even thinking about the time that what kind of ancestor do I even want to be? Not that I want to be there yet, but I'm starting to really think about those things, and
Yeah.
it's just like, especially this time, you just sit, and there's that time, that thinking.
Yeah. Well, you have plenty of time to think
Yeah,
during
yeah.
this time. Um, in terms of leaving a legacy, though, no, I feel like this year, especially, I started asking the question of whenever I wake up, who have I forgotten? Just as important and an important
Mm,
way to help
mm,
steer my actions going forward, because I you realize once you haven't, you know, incorporated everyone, there's a point where you might be like, oh my gosh, I forgot that group of people, that group of marginalized people I didn't even think about. Um, but I just feel like going forward, I want to consistently do that, which is something that I haven't done, and I would encourage other people to do. As marginalized people, we know our own struggles, but there are also folks, trying to survive next to us also. So just kind of keeping that peripheral vision open for as long as I am here.
awesome, awesome. Thank you for everything that you do. And again, I just wanted to get you on because I really, and um, Ruby and I, we both think you're a rock star.
Thank you.
And just who you are and the work that you're doing and your involvement with not just one, but you're encompassing the whole.
Hmm.
You're looking at the bigger and the wholeness of it all. And so that's really cool. So
Definitely.
anything else that you'd like to share, or a message that you'd like to give out to the people, or
Um, I I feel like I would suggest just encompassing the fact that a lot of us have shared struggles, and that you make a lot of connection that way when you can meet there, and start healing together. Because I know that there's a lot of separation going on right now, but if we can see that we're both struggling in some manner, we can move forward together.
right on.
Mm.
So thank you so much, and thank you for again. This here topic was mentors, role models, and leaders, and I definitely see you as one of those, and
Thank
as
you.
a young age, and so, um, but at the same time, it's like my great grandma said too. My great grandma, who was like 90 something, she didn't even know how 90s something she was. It's like, I think I'm about 90. I can't remember, but she'd always talk about learning something every day,
Yeah.
always being that constant learner and learning something every day, and reaching out. I just had an elder I talked to, and he's reached out to the support group that we had, and he's asking permission. He says about telling his story. Is it
Hmm.
still relevant? And I think our stories are,
Yeah.
all of our stories, and as Indian people, Native people.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Very, very important. Yes.
So yeah, to tell our stories. So anything else? Oh, I want to ask you too. Is like, so when you do like kick back and when you're not doing anything, and when you're
Yeah.
like, and you got out there uh, working with people and stuff, what do you like to do? Just to chill out, or what do you like to
Um,
do?
yeah, I'm one of those Netflix people.
Ah,
I sit there with my dog and I watch Netflix. Or I mean, I'll read occasionally, but to be honest, I am on Netflix or Hulu a lot. Just being honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Ruby and I are too. We're like, we've already watched a whole series of a few things, and and to be honest, like we just watched this here one series. It's on HBO. It's called We're Here. Have you seen that?
Ooh. No, I feel like what is that about?
Oh,
Sounds
it's
familiar.
about um We're Here, and it's about gay it's drag, and they go
Oh.
into all these communities, and like they went down to Louisiana, and then they went to Idaho, all these conservative communities, and they're dressed, these here three guys, and they're on the RuPaul show, and they're all dressed in drag, and so they
Oh.
walked right down the street dressed in drag. The last one I saw was a really powerful one. They were in Farmington, New Mexico, and they
Oh.
had an Indian guy on there too, and they take them, and they just all these people who were like just there's like so much such hurt out there, and people just want to be who they are. So they take them and they do this whole drag show in these conservative communities, and it's just and we just started watching it last night, and we just couldn't stop watching. We were like going, and that was the last one we watched, and then we've watched all of Frasier and all that stuff. I
Oh
let
yeah.
Ruby watch the reruns and things like that, but that was the last one we watched, man, and it was
Oh.
awesome.
I need to check that out.
Check it out. It's called We're Here.
We're Here. Okay.
We're Here.
Yeah, I will
Yeah.
definitely check that out.
So Brandy, thank you so much. My hands go up to you. You're awesome. You're
Thank
awesome. Keep up
you.
the good work, and anything that we can do to support you, not only Ruby and I, but also with the Native Wellness Institute. Yeah, it's just awesome. So with that, blessings,
Thank you
and
so much.
people to take a look at Brandy and website.
Yes, website. I have a whole bunch of them, but I think they're going to be provided somewhere, the information.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. I don't want to have to
Okay. Yeah.
have people write things down.
We'll let Dilly take care of that.
Yeah.
So cool. All right.
All
Hey,
right.
enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much. You're awesome.
Thank you, Jean.
All
Have
right.
a good one.
Bless. And so that was Brandy Douglas, and she's again a wellness warrior. She's just one of those warriors out there doing the work. And so thank you so much. And so we got another guest who's coming up, and I was here. I was like looking for her bio, but for some reason it's not. I can't find it. So, oh, there it is, right there. Yeah, let me hit this. And so I'm going to read her bio real quick because, again, I'm going to have to log off again and then come back on because I can't see anybody and I can't hear anybody. And so this our next guest that's coming up here, Michelle Demert Slingette. She's Eagle Hahus Khitan Men's Foot Clan, is the current delegate and former Chief Justice for the Central Council of Tlingit and Haida Indian Tribes of Alaska, and is a newly appointed Chief Judge for the Tulalip Tribes of Washington. She serves as the Law and Policy Director for the Alaska Native Women's Resource Center, providing educational, technical assistance and assisting with setting the policies and priorities for Alaska tribes in the area of domestic violence, sexual assault. Previously, Judge Demert was in the General Counsel's office at the Tulalip Tribes for nearly 10 years and held various positions with the Northwest Intertribal Court system, including. But one thing about Michelle is that she shared with me that she was a high school dropout. And so from being a high school dropout to a judge. And so here we go. I'll turn it over to Michelle.
Okay. Thank you, Jean. It's just such a pleasure to be on today. And I just want to thank the Wellness Institute, Native Wellness Institute, for inviting me to join. I am so happy to be here, and it's such a privilege and honor. And also, it makes me, I'm always a little bit nervous about sharing, what I do in life because I think everyone has a role in improving the lives of others, and no one has a greater role. We all have a specific role to play. And so for me to share information about myself, it's like, well, I'd rather hear about all of you, and, see what our commonalities are and what our interests are. But in any event, so thanks,
Just to
Jean.
let you know, I'm back. I'm back.
I
Now I
see
can
that.
see you.
Yes. So, yeah, when Jean asked me if I would do this, I'm in the middle of a move, so I'm taking time out from my crazy moving life right now
So cool. All
to
right.
do this. But can you hear me? I think we might be frozen.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, very good. Okay, so Jean, where would you like me to start?
Hey, and again, I just wanted to say thank you. You're highly accomplished in the work that you do, and like I said, you are who influenced you? Who were your mentors, or who just grabbed you and said that here you go, you could be this, you could do this? Because you said that were a high school dropout.
Yeah, I had a wonderful family, and I think my mom and dad, sister, they really influenced me. But I had really a tough time socially growing up. I was, I told Jean that I'm a childhood sexual survivor. When I was 16, I tried to commit suicide. I dropped out of high school when I was 17, a junior in high school, and I just sort of drifted for about maybe 7 years after that. Before coming back around and getting my associate's degree, then my bachelor's degree, and then my law degree. But, I think what really saved me was my family's traditional structure, in that my aunties and uncles, they really held me accountable at times. And I ignored them when I was younger. They would say, don't think that you don't, that we don't know what you're doing, or, just the different things. And, but yet, they never gave up on me. And,
Mm.
and they never stopped caring and imposing their views on me. And being family, and sometimes I think that we've gotten afraid of speaking, you know directing people, forgetting about what our roles are, as aunties, uncles, community members, that we've gotten so westernized in some ways to think that individual rights trump over our community values, and I just don't think that's true.
Mm.
And so my dad, I just, I had a very special dad. I admired him so much. He grew up in our fishing village. His first language was Tlingit, but yet he went on and got a master's degree, so he really inspired me. And I rarely ever heard him say anything negative about the experience that he had as a dark native man who had to endure signs that said, no dogs, no natives, things like that. He was full of hope, and he really instilled that in me, and I feel so blessed for that. So yeah.
Yeah, my mom was a huge influence on me, and no matter just uh, the worry that I brought on her. I remember my mom just. I would tell my mom. I said, "Mom, you don't need to worry. I'll be fine." And my mom would just tell me, "I earned that right to worry." I had nothing to. I had no response to that, and they did, but they of all the things from that they just loved me. They loved me, and I'm so grateful to have that, because I know not a lot of people have that. Not everybody has that. Just that love from their parents. Because maybe they were only around one parent, or maybe they were adopted. They didn't have those parents. Somebody else loved them. But that love, and the love of our culture and our people, and how can we find that again? I mean, and get that in those mentors, mentors, role models, and and those leaders. What is a mentor? What is a role model? What is a leader? What is that? What is for you?
Well, for me, I think that's why I got to a point in my 57 years of life and 32 years of sobriety that okay, I think I'm safe to share my past with people. I was really afraid to share things, but I think the secrecy really harms us. And so I don't know how many people have come up to me since I've shared some of my experiences um, and said that that happened to them as well, and they felt hopeful because they have seen where I've come from, and so so I think how do we get back to it? I think there's no right or wrong answer. I think that we have to. It's all about love and really being present. You know, uh, you know, I got to spend some time in Juneau recently working for Tlingit and Haida, and they have a couple of really significant events every week. There's a bead shop that it's like a sewing circle. Women and men can come in and just hang out, have dinner, and bead and talk. And then there's a thing called Auntie's House on Saturdays.
Uh huh.
And I think events like that where people are getting together, it's all walks of life that come through those doors, um, and realizing how much commonality that we have among ourselves, really, because sometimes I think we divide ourselves thinking that we're so different, but we really aren't.
Hmm.
We're really, there's a lot of us, we all come from somewhere and have had our struggles, but not all of us share those struggles. So I don't know, Jean. I just want to, whatever I can do, I want people to know that I'm there for them. And
Mm.
I've devoted my 26 years as an attorney just trying to find a role for the underprivileged, to get that voice out there. And so, I do a lot of work with domestic violence, sexual assault, MMIW issues, and now I'm back at Tulalip working as their chief judge, and really want to focus on Indigenous justice because we have the answers. I
Yeah.
don't know if you know my cousin sister Cheryl Fairbanks, but she has this great presentation, and she's always telling us, there's 10,000 ancestors behind you, supporting you, lifting you up, and you've got the answer to the test. We've been conditioned to think that what we value isn't appropriate, but it is. They're the mainstream's looking at us and trying to adopt our ways now. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um so having confidence, but when I was a little girl, I had that confidence sort of beat out of me by the mainstream society. And I grew up in the 80s when you kind of hid from being Indian because of everything that was going on. And I didn't fit in anywhere. But now, I'm trying to find my Tlingit voice, and returning to um, what's in my DNA. So I don't know. I'm pretty philosophical these days, I guess.
Well, I like that. I mean, I like your answer too. Is for just about it's about love. That
Mhm.
love, the love for yourself and for your people. And that restorative justice as well. And I tell people too. It's like, yeah, our DNA. It's in our DNA. Take your shoes off. Walk on the land. Allow our ancestors to go out. And I had an uncle who told me, who's like, we stood on the beach down there up in Southeast Alaska.
Mhm.
He talked about the trees, and the trees hold the remembering. If you want to remember, go to the trees. Our ancestors would always go to the trees and talk to them. They would talk to them. And this one here is for a canoe. This one here, there's a bear inside of it. Carve it out of it. Find that bear that's inside of it. Or there's a raven here. Go talk to the trees, and it's there inside of us, that ancestral wisdom, and I really love that we have that. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Whenever, just enjoying the beauty. Whenever, I mean, I've seen thousands of eagles, hundreds of whales, but every time is a gift. Take that moment to be present and on, say goodness sheesh, goodness sheesh,
Ah.
but one thing I just want to get back to, Jean, is love for yourself, but also forgiveness. I was so hard on myself for all the things that I did when I was, using alcohol and drugs, and just so embarrassed and so ashamed. And it took a long time for me to forgive myself for all of those things, and to work through what happened. And so start with forgiving yourself, and then the love will come from there.
Ah. That's a great place to end just this short conversation. That forgiveness for yourself,
Yeah.
and um, so I know you're in the process of moving too. So it's like, thank you for just taking this moment out of your day to
Yeah.
to spend with us, to give us a little bit of insight, some hope, some words of encouragement in that spirit. And if Cindy and Jerry are still there, tell them I said hi.
Well,
And
yeah, she said hi back, and I told her I was going to grab her, but she was back on her way to Olympia.
that's her. She was like in and out, man. She's always just in and out. Oh, see you later. Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, I love Shailene Joseph."
Oh yeah, Shailene and Jolene. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, yeah. So tell them hello also.
So much thanks, Michelle, and I'll let you get back. And again, thank you for this time. This Judge Michelle Demert, and you'll be working with the Tulalip tribe here as their tribal judge. And so gonna cheesh. So wonderful, wonderful, and here we are. We're going to end with today. Again, thank you for Michelle, and just I hope you got some good encouragement from her. She's just wonderful. I had the opportunity to work with her as well as an advocate for our Native people. So last guest I'm going to have on here is brother Dwayne. And again, I'm going to let Dwayne take it over and start sharing a little bit about himself, because I need to log off, then come back on, and I still got my feather. My feather's helping me through this here technical challenges that we have here. So I'm going to turn it over to Dwayne. Dwayne, brother, take it away right now. Tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're at.
So first of all, I want to acknowledge the Native Wellness Institute and Jeline Joseph and all the other presenters that have been on these power hours. They have done an incredible work, a good medicine to all the people, and through this internet, we're able to get this information out to our people. So I just want to say thank you for that. My name is Dwayne Garvey Lawrence, and my dad is Kenny Garvey Lawrence, and his dad is Charlie Garvey Lawrence from the Assiniboine Sioux tribe. On my mother's side is Mary McDonald, and she is from the Caldwell Confederated Tribes. Her father is Fred McDonald, and my mom grew up in Cartar on the Caldwell Indian Reservation. I am married to Lavina Louie, and between us we have 7 children, and we have 4 grandchildren and 1 on the way. And so we have quite the little family going on, and we're quite busy. So those are good things. But Jean, today I'm very honored that you asked me to speak about mentorship.
Well, right
And
on,
what
right on.
I'd
Yeah.
like to do is break it down.
So we
Oh,
we
can
have
you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. We have about 10 minutes or so, and plus I'd like to
Okay.
ask you too about as you're a veteran yourself, and this day being a veteran and acknowledgement of our veterans, and that Memorial Day too, and so.
Sure. Okay, so I'll work quickly. So I want to talk about my mother, Mary McDonald.
Uh
She was the first legitimate mentor in my life. First of all, she gave birth to me. The women are sacred life givers, and it's very
uh
important that we as men understand the role that they play in our lives. My mother set the foundation for me. She instilled in me a work ethic. My mom grew up in the Depression, so she had what we called a Depression garden. It would be a garden that you would look and you see the corn and it would just go for a long ways. And my sister and I would have to weed that garden, Marcy and Marie, my sisters, and we just go, wow, that's a lot of garden. So my mom was very resourceful. We didn't have a lot of money. I grew up in Marysville, Washington, just off the Tulalip Indian Reservation. And like I told you before, brother, I'm half Native American and half white. I have French and Irish blood in me, as long as as well as my Indian blood. And so I've dealt with racism from both sides. I would go into a powwow, and some natives would look at me and they'd be like, he looks like he's native, but we're not quite sure. And then I would go into like Marysville, Washington, the city, and some non-tribal members would look at me and go, well, he kind of looks like he's one of us, but he's not quite there. So as a half breed, I've had to deal with that my whole life. And the sister before me brought up a really good point, and that was forgiveness. First of all, you have to love yourself. And so for me, when I chose to accept who I was, that's when I found peace and love. So after my childhood at Marysville Pilchuck High School, and like you, Brother Gene, I'm the guy that nobody ever thought would go anywhere. I'm that guy that was just kind of there and nobody ever really saw. I'm just kind of in the background.
Yeah.
And so from there, I went into the United States Marine Corps. And when I served in the Marine Corps, it taught me some very important values. It taught me dedication, inspiration, motivation, goal setting, obedience, and accomplishment, and teamwork. And that was very crucial for me at that time in my life, because I learned how to operate in a setting of a teamwork of a platoon, which comprised of a company and a battalion. And so my time in the Marine Corps was very important for me as a person to grow. When I graduated from the Marine Corps, I went to law enforcement. And I'm going to say this very clearly. Those goons at the no DPL are not law enforcement. Any law enforcement officer knows what the oath of office is in the code of ethics. There is no excuse for what they did to our people at Standing Rock. That is not appropriate.
Yeah.
That is not what we do as law enforcement. And I will take a stand to that to my dying day. And I will call out every single one of you law enforcement officers that showed up there and did that. You need to repent for what you did and ask for forgiveness, because that is uncalled for and it's inappropriate, and it is actually criminal. So when I was in law enforcement, I was at the Caldwell Indian Reservation, and my mentor was John J. Goss Jr. He is an enrolled member of the Blackfoot tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And he brought me into the office and he set me aside and he talked to me very specifically about what it was to be a police officer. You're not a judge. You're not a jury. You are a gatherer of facts. You're to be unbiased and you're not to be involved in politics. In other words, if I were to arrest you, Gene, on a Monday, and let's say you just beat the heck out of your wife. I mean, you hit her hard, okay? So I show up, you're the aggressor, I arrest you. The next day when I see you, you're Gene. I'm to give you the respect of a human being, irregardless of what you did the day before. And I'm not to judge you. That's not my job. As a law enforcement officer, I'm a protector and I'm a provider, and I'm to look out after the weak. That's what I do. I gather evidence, whether it be circumstantial or direct evidence, and I submit it to a court, or if there's probable cause, I make an arrest. But it's not personal. And I respect your rights as well as my rights. That's what you do as a law enforcement officer. And John J. Goss Jr., the former chief at Tulalip and at the Caldwell Indian Reservation, taught me that as an enrolled member of the Blackfoot tribe. And I can't offer as much gratitude as I like to on this short time that I have for him to instill in me those things.
Well, I totally hear you, brother. I mean, it's like my mom, huge influence in my life as a mentor, and other those, we could like spend a whole like week just doing a workshop on just mentorship and such. As we come down to an end here, brother, I really appreciate your service, and your service, of our veterans as well, and you being a veteran as well too, and those just that honoring of during this time, I like to take this time just to discuss a little bit about that, and have you sing a song if you have one in your heart to offer during this time.
Sure. I want to read some numbers for you before I start that. The Civil War, 498,000 died. World War I, 116,000 died. World War II, 405,000 died. Korea, 54,000. Vietnam, 90,000. Persian Gulf War, 2,000. The Global War on Terror, 7,000. I'd also like to acknowledge the Code Talkers from the Navajo, from the Sioux, the Chippewa, the Cree, all the Native American tribes that turned the tide of World War I. I want to acknowledge you and say thank you for what you did. In America, you need to stand up and you need to honor those people. You need to honor our people. You need to honor the Indian reservations. And by doing so, you will be blessed. So the song that I sing today on this sacred day, Memorial Day, is to honor all those who wrote a blank check for their lives to serve the United States of America and the sovereign Indian reservations. The Native Americans have the highest per capita people that serve in the United States military. Some of the veterans that I'd like to acknowledge are Glenn Douglas, Wilford Deb Louis, Kenny Garvey Lawrence, Richard Muma, my cousin Ron Garvey Jr., my sister-in-law, Debbie Louie McGee. There's so many different veterans that I can't name them all, but I just wanted to briefly acknowledge them. And also acknowledge Ira Hayes and the woman veteran from Navajo, Laura Petiswasi. I'm saying her name wrong, but she also gave up her life and during these wars. So the song that I sing is to honor you,
So
and I thank.
one other thing too I want to add into that, brother, is that those who have come back and the suicide rate amongst our veterans, the highest, and
Yeah,
I want to acknowledge them too, and those veterans lost as well.
yes, and the last part of that acknowledgement is the suicide rate that you're talking about, 20 to 22 per day were taking their lives. And you saw that thread on Facebook. So it's important that we realize that when they're over there serving, they're subjected to trauma. And the way that they try to deal with that, a lot of them is they'll start drinking, start doing drugs and those types of things to try to cover it up so they don't have to deal with it. And so the Native Wellness Institute is a great forum for them to come forward and to process those feelings and to understand what happened and why it happened, and to forgive themselves and to forgive others so that they can become whole again.
Awesome. Gonna teach. So you got a
So
song for us?
I'd like to offer this song to the veterans on Memorial Day weekend. It's a song that came to me from my dad, Kenny Garvey Lawrence, from the Assiniboine Sioux tribe, and I'd like to sing this song for them and for you. Way ha you, way hey yo, 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 way ha ya hey, way ha ya hey. Yod hey va hey, thank you for healing. Yod hey va hey, thank you for healing. Yod hey va hey, thank you for healing. Those who serve, those who hurt. Way ha you, way hey yo, 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 way ha ya hey, way ha ya hey. Way ha ya hey, way ha ya hey.
Oh, gonna
Thank
teach,
you.
brother. Gonna teach. And again, thank you for your service. Thank you for your service and your continued service as a police officer as well. So,
Doksha,
and,
thank you.
and your most important, and the most important service, being a dad, being a husband.
Amen.
So thanks,
Amen.
brother. Thank you, Gunachish.
Yep.
Thank you, Gunachish. And so with the Native Waters Institute, we just want to say thank you for um, watching and taking this time out of your day and just to take this time out. You yourself are a mentor, a role model, and a leader in your own way. We all have our own skills, gifts, and talents, and so just to take a look at that, and so I thank you. I thank you for everything, who you are out there as you're watching here in with the Native Waters Institute, and we're sponsored by the Indian Coalition again. And I gave a shout out to Dan, Brandy, Michelle, and Dwayne for coming on and taking some time out. So blessings, blessings, blessings to all of you during on this Memorial Day. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Have a wonderful week. Konachish, and Yahosani, Konachish, ho, 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 ho.